Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Hope you're all doing very, very well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer faces a top four blow. Bruno Fernandes and a little bit of a Pochettino hint from an ex-Premier League teammate of Bruno Fernandes. And also, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this very, very quickly off the top of the hat. Scott McTominay, Axel Tuanzebe are both flying out to Marbella with the Manchester United squad on their winter break, but no Paul Pogba. I've seen a lot of this today. People saying for the second time this season, Scott McTominay's got himself back quicker than Paul Pogba. Two things I would say about that. Paul Pogba got injured in October. Scott McTominay got injured in November. McTominay got back sooner. Scott McTominay got injured in December. Pogba got injured in December. McTominay's got back sooner. They're different injuries, and Pogba's injury is pretty much the same injury. So I don't think one player getting back sooner than the other shows that McTominay is more wanting to play for United than Pogba. That might be the case, but I think it's, again, allowing agendas and allowing, issues that people have with Pogba to fester and grow. Oh, look at Scott McTominay, how quick he gets back. I would say if Scott McTominay is rushing himself back, he's an idiot because he could get himself injured. So I'm not saying that's what McTominay's doing, but what I am saying is these are very different injuries, and we must not be there saying, well, look at McTominay cares more about United than Pogba does because he's getting back from injury. Totally different injuries. If I've got a broken arm and I can't write and somebody else has got a sprained wrist, they're going to start writing before I am because I've got a worse injury. Arsenal and United will battle in the Europa League, says Highbury. I think that's interesting. I want to talk about Bruno Fernandes and Pochettino because I think that's very interesting from Yannick Bolasie, who's actually playing at Sporting Lisbon, formerly of Crystal Palace, formerly of Everton. Very good friends with Rance, actually. He was Sporting Lisbon teammate with Pochettino and has been speaking about Bruno and his, likeness of Pochettino and how he likes him. So we'll talk about it in a minute. Check out what Fred said in a YouTube interview. It says 4 ace. I've read it. I don't really want to talk about it, to be honest with you. But I want to talk about the top four because Manchester United are down to 8th. Now, the reality is Everton have played a game more than us and they're a point ahead of us now. So they're into 8th place. But it got me thinking. Somebody just mentioned there, the Arsenal fan mentioned about the Europa League for Manchester United. And I don't know what you lot think, but I personally do think that Manchester United need to get Pogba back, McTominay back, and really the Chelsea game is almost a cup final. If we win that, I think we've got a chance at top four. If we lose that, we're 9 points off top four, it's gone. Let's focus on the Europa League. So that's where I am at the moment, because the interesting thing is, not only have we dropped down to 8th place, but we've got to beat Chelsea to go back above everybody above us, which a lot of people feel will be quite a difficult game. Do you think Matic deserves a new one-year contract, says Ginger Hash Brown? Long term, I don't see Matic as a solution, but I think he will get a contract. He has done well over the last month, but every year you give Matic a contract, he gets worse. Like, he's not the player he was when we signed him. He's not even the player he was last season. He can still do a job. He's a good player, but I never liked Matic as a signing for United anyway because he's slow and he hasn't got the creative eye that you need as a CDM. We will give him a new contract. Personally, I would be moving him on in the summer, and if we are truly about a vision. But I've heard that this vision that they're talking about, this future vision, as I said last night at the end of the show, and I said I would talk about it tonight, I've heard that United's future vision is about as clear as a muddy puddle. It's pea soup. You can't see what, and this is from within the club. They don't have a plan. They don't have a vision. It's all scattergun, and it's all about getting you to feel positive and spend your money, because actually Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ed Woodward, there is no strategic plan in the future other than hope. The Bruno Fernandes deal was rushed forward because they panicked. They lost out to Haaland, who was part of the plan. United don't have a plan. They can't sit it. They couldn't sit you down if they wanted to and say, this time next year, this is what our team's going to look like. We're going to have Sancho here. We're going to have Timo Werner up front. We're going to bring James Maddison in. That's our plan for August. Then next summer, we're going to bring such... They don't have that plan. It's just words. And this is coming from people within the club because it's a mess. They're like, there is no plan. They might want to sign Sancho. They might want to sign Timo Werner, but it's far from done. It's far from nailed on. They don't have a future vision because they just don't have one, because it's such a bloody mess in the club. It changes from day to day. I think it was in late December they had an emergency scouting meeting in late December, just before the January transfer window. It's a mess at Manchester United. So the future vision is somewhat muddy, as I was said. Hi Mark, what do you think will take us back to the top? Because I don't think the owners will change and neither will Ed. So how do we get back to first? We don't with them, Jay, unless there is a change of mentality. But let me say this about the top four blow to Ollie. If you look at the league table now, we're in 8th place. We've got to beat Chelsea we've got to beat Chelsea. You know, you don't go higher up the league by losing or drawing games. Maybe if you draw, but ultimately, to go higher up the league, you've got to win games. Look at United's next 5 games. Chelsea away, Watford at home, who are fighting for their lives, Everton away, who are much improved. And then I think we've got Man City at home and Spurs away. 5 tough games. It gets easier after that, but those 5 games, if we don't take enough points out of those games, top 4 is gone. But what is interesting, look at the teams above us. Wolves, next 5 games, Leicester at home, Norwich, Brighton, West Ham, Bournemouth. A lot of winnable games there for Wolves. Look at Sheffield United, already above us, Bournemouth, Brighton, Newcastle, Norwich, and then us. I mean, Sheffield United, if they stay consistent, they could win their next 4 games. Arsenal have got Everton, West Ham, Bournemouth, and I think Southampton. Winnable games for a much improved Arsenal team. And Everton, look, I think we will get above Everton, because if you look at Everton's next few games, they've got Arsenal, us, Chelsea, Liverpool. So Everton are going to drop points. But that's why the next 5 games for United are really important, because if teams in and around us pick up points, it'll be gone. It'll be gone by the start of March. So we might be at a time in a couple of weeks where we are saying, let's focus on the Europa League, which, I don't know, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, part of me does think, if top 4's gone by the middle of March, I suppose the question is, if top 4's gone by the middle of March, no sane Manchester United fan is going to say, let's keep going for top 4 when it's gone. Everyone's going to say, let's focus on the Europa League. But Mourinho was brave enough to do that. He did rest a lot of players for Premier League games because he focused on the Europa League. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown no sign of doing that. This season, he tends to go strong in every tournament, and that's why I've picked up a lot of injuries, I think. But would he do that? Would he start putting a team out in the Premier League that's not that strong? Or, as I suspect he wouldn't want to do that, because he wouldn't want to keep losing and drawing games when it's already, as I said many times, this is our worst season since 1989, points tally-wise. Fred's comments on the team not quite being in the same state of mind and Solskjaer naivety were interesting, says Revan. Well, I did read about what Fred said, and he said that there's a lot of things that need to be improved at Manchester United. Now, the thing you've got to be careful about that is I don't even know if Fred speaks English yet. So there is always the lost in translation argument. When people translate foreign language, it tends to come across a lot harsher, because you can translate it words in, you can make it look harsher. If Fred has said that, he's going to land himself in trouble. Remember David De Gea, at the start of the season, I think we lost to Crystal Palace. He was captain, or he had been captain, and he said that's not acceptable from Manchester United. He was never allowed to be captain again. That has come out from a lot of people. David De Gea started the season as captain. I think he was captain against Chelsea, actually, our best Premier League win. Never been captain again. In fact, they appointed a person as captain who's only been here 6 months in Harry Maguire, rather than give it to David De Gea. And the strong rumour is that De Gea had that captaincy stripped of him because of that interview where he came out after a game and said, that's not acceptable, we were rubbish. Something Roy Keane did for a decade, but David De Gea comes out of it, and the club, that tells you the mentality of Manchester United Football Club. If you speak the truth, you will be punished. Dictatorship, run by idiots. Make your own mind up. Why are we not mentioning Adama Traore? Sancho is out of reach, and Adama would be a class signing for us. Exactly what we need, to be honest, says 97 Adam Burner. Well, look, I don't know how... A lot of people... I had 5,000 people watching me play FIFA this afternoon on my episode 3 of the FIFA career mode. I wish we had 5 people watching, because I'm embarrassed. It was a very hard stream, but I won't quit. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock if you want to join me on Mark Goldbridge That's Football for episode 4. Needless to say, I can relate to the problems that Manchester United have. We don't have a right winger, and Adama Traore is a right winger. So I do agree with you, but how much would you have to play for Adama Traore? And that's probably going to be the issue for United. Jordan Such says, as things stand, what is more likely in your opinion? Us going on a run, getting top 4, or same inconsistent rubbish, missing out on Europe altogether at the end of the season? Well, look, I'm going to do this right here, right now. I'm going to say to you that sometimes we can do we can do things on this channel that are just live. And what I would say this is, top 4 to me, I don't think we're going to get top 4 unless those teams around us remain inconsistent, because I just don't think we're going to be able to do it. I think we've got 5 hard games, and then I think our run-in has got games we could win, but I think they will coincide with the latter stages of the Europa League, which are going to be problematic for us. So I think we ain't getting Champions League from the top 4 unless we beat Chelsea next week. Maybe we can take a bit of impetus from that. I don't think we'll get top 4 in the for the Premier League, but I think we can win the Europa League. But this is hot off the press. I'm just going to go through this now. So obviously we're going to play Club Brugge. I'm going to talk about Bruno and Poch in a minute. I'm looking at teams in the Europa League that are going to be a problem for us. Well, Inter Milan are a problem, but I think English clubs are against Italian clubs. We've got the edge on them because the league is quicker. Celtic are in it, not bothered about them. Sporting Lisbon, not. I'm just picking out various teams that are quite good. Sporting Lisbon are not a threat, especially now they've got Bruno Fernandes gone. Benfica are better than Sporting Lisbon, but I still would fancy us to beat them. Ajax, I think, are a threat. I think Ajax are a good team. They're going to be hard. Wolfsburg, Bayer Leverkusen, yeah, you know, they're German teams. They could be a problem. AZ Alkmaar, I think we would beat them, to be fair. Arsenal, problem. Wolves, problem. Rangers, Roma, not really. So I think when I look at it, the teams that worry me in there probably are Bayer Leverkusen, Benfica, Inter Milan, and Ajax. But you know, we might get lucky. The next round it might be Inter Milan against Ajax. So you just don't know. I think the Europa League is our chance, and I don't think it's gonna be easy. I'm like many, well, not like many United fans, I expect an improvement with United in the end of the season. I expect the end of the season to be better than what we've had so far, because Pogba will be back and we've got Bruno Fernandes. And Ighalo gives us some options. But it'll be difficult. And Leverkusen are quite a good team. They've got Havertz, they've got Leon Bailey. They're doing quite well in the Bundesliga. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Europa League is going to be good, and I want us to go deep. You know, I think the Europa League this season has got the potential to be really good. You could end up with United having to play Inter Milan, Ajax, Leverkusen, Arsenal, Wolves. It's going to be tough, and that's what I mean. Imagine when we hit March, April, and you're playing the teams like Inter Milan and Ajax on a Thursday, and then on a Sunday you've got to play West Ham or something, who are fighting for their lives. Very difficult, no matter whether you've got Pogba or Bruno. So I do think there will become a time when we've got to prioritise one or the other. We won't get top 4 because we can't keep pace with teams like Wolves or Sheffield United, let alone Leicester or Chelsea. Fixtures also against us, says B. Yakov. I think the next 5 fixtures are huge. Chelsea away, Watford at home, Arsenal, Everton away, Man City at home, Spurs away. I think we've got to take 10 points. That's 3 wins and a draw. That will keep us in the race, I think. That's going to be very difficult because you've basically got to win at Spurs and Chelsea, draw with City, and beat Everton or Watford as well. So it's tough. We've not done anything like that this season. We can do it, but it will be tough. Jace Mallas says United could be a really... Jace Mallas says United could be a really competition with top 4 if we made just a few more signings in the summer. A right winger, a striker and 2 midfielders. What positions should we improve in, on your opinion? I think we need a CDM. I think we need a right winger. I think we need a striker, and I think we need another midfielder. I think we need 4 signings in the summer. And there's no excuse not to do it. Now the transfer window's open for another month. There's no excuse not to do it. But it will all come down to money. Cress Welsing says, I want to see us get the Champions League and then Ollie get the sack. There's a lot of people who want that. Do you think if we get... I'll ask you another question. Do you think if we get Champions League football, Solskjaer would be sacked by the club? You know, get in the live comments, let me know. What will Poch bring in if Ollie gets the sack? Will he take control of transfers as Chris Johnson Adventures? He would have to. The next manager, whoever it is, if there is another manager, he would have to do that. George Kyle says 6 signings needed. Big summer transfers, says Finest Garner. A lot of it will come down to money. George Kyle says no. Gary Clark says no. The Amazing Jeff says 100%. Adam says no. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will not get sacked if he gets top 4. I don't think he will. Champions League football, I don't think he will. I really don't. I want another striker. Ighalo will go soon. 1 right winger, 2 more midfielders, a left back and a centre back, says Just Jackler. Yeah, but that's going to be a 2-year plan, isn't it? I really do think that. Anyway, let me talk about Bruno Fernandes. This is quite interesting. Yannick Bolasie, formerly at Palace, went to Everton. He's now playing for Sporting Lisbon. teammate of Bruno Fernandes. He's been talking about him in an article, basically saying that, look, he's got the lot. He's like a David Silva, he's like a De Bruyne, he's that sort of player. He will create chances. He said the most damage that Bruno Fernandes can do is sort of in the final third on the turn, getting shots off, feeding other players in. Exactly what I said, exactly what you lot know. Playing him as a CDM was ridiculous. That cannot happen again. Hopefully it won't do. Now we've got players coming back from suspension and injury. But he also said that Manchester United's benefit was the fact that Pochettino got the sack from Spurs, because Bruno Fernandes to Spurs was looking on, but then when the manager changed, that left the door open to Manchester United for Bruno Fernandes. So what does that statement mean? To me, Balassi is a teammate of Bruno Fernandes. He obviously knows what Bruno Fernandes wanted to know, I would suggest. And it sounds very much like Bruno Fernandes was more than happy last summer to go and play with Spurs and Pochettino. But when Pochettino left, that was a bit of a turn-off to Bruno Fernandes, and Manchester United was then the big attraction. So, look, Bruno Fernandes would like to play with Pochettino. That's from an ex-teammate. Does that mean that we signed Bruno Fernandes because we're going to get Pochettino in May? I don't think so. I mean, I know we all love a conspiracy theory. I don't think so, because I don't think that Manchester United, although I've been told different, have a deal in place for Pochettino. I just don't. I think they have a deal in principle in place, and I think what's happening in the rumour mill is that people are saying, well, I can say it here now, I've heard that there is a deal in place for Pochettino. I don't think there is. I think there is a deal in principle in place, and it's dependent, like many things in football, on certain things happening. For example, Chelsea will probably have deals in place for players in the summer dependent on different things. If they're in the Europa League, they might be looking at that player. If in the Champions League, they might be looking at that player. And I think United probably have done that with Pochettino. They've had the talks, they've spoken about the deal, and they've basically said, you know, this is the deal if this scenario develops. But if it doesn't, we're sticking with Solskjaer, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's very helpful that Pochettino wanted Bruno and Bruno wanted to play with Pochettino, but I feel it might be. I wouldn't go as far as to say United signed Bruno Fernandes because Pochettino wants him in the summer. I think we signed Bruno Fernandes because we were desperate and we needed to bring a player in. Welcome to GT Quetse, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club, and Mr. Glenn Johnson says, you could get Sir Alex out of retirement, and I still don't think Woodward and the Glazers would allow the manager control over transfers in and out. I think we're past all that now, aren't we? I don't even think of prime Sir Alex Ferguson, and I remember Alan Hansen saying, at a time when we were winning titles, so probably around 2010, he basically said you could put Sir Alex Ferguson in charge of any of the top four clubs and he would win the title with them. What Alan Hansen was saying is the top four are good. There's not a lot of difference between them. The difference is the manager. I think prime Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't win the title. That's a very big statement, because we're talking about, and what do you think on that one as well? Do you think prime Sir Alex Ferguson could win the Premier League title with this team? For me, there's no hesitation. It's a big, fat no. And we're talking about the greatest football manager that's ever been in the Premier League and probably the world. And I don't think, for all his brilliance and genius, he could win the Premier League with that title. I think he'd get his top four. I think comfortably he'd get his top four. But top four is like a 10-point swing on where we are now, which is a considerable swing at this point of the season. But he wouldn't get us anywhere near the title. I mean, he wouldn't anyway. You're telling me he'd win every single game, and because that's what he'd have to do to be level with Liverpool, isn't it? But no, not in a million years would he get us near the title with this team. No, never in a million years. No, he can't. And my reasoning for that is, every player we've got, even on their good day, is not as good as Man City and Liverpool. They've got better players than what we've got. And I like Harry Maguire, and I like Wan-Bissaka, and I like Fred, and I like Martial, and I like Rashford, and I like Dan James, and I like Brandon Williams. And I can go through a lot of those players, but do they get in a Man City team even on their good day? Do they get in a Liverpool team on their good day? And for me, we've only got 2, maybe 3 players that on their day get in a Man City or Liverpool team. So you're asking Sir Alex Ferguson to grab a team, get them to play absolutely brilliant every week, and then go beyond that because they're actually not better than Man City and Liverpool anyway. And that's down to recruitment, because we're trying to rebuild a club. We're a long, long way. We're a long, long way from where we need to be. China Brown says Fergie would get us at least second or third with this team. I think third would be his ceiling. JT Music says we will finish third. Alex was still here. And watch out, Mark. Sir Alex will come out of retirement and prove you wrong, says Kyle Middleton. I can categorically tell you he never will do that. And Pogba's better than De Bruyne, says Abdul. And what if we had Mark Noble, says Mighty Chop. You laugh about it, but Mark Noble would have been a decent acquisition to our squad a couple of weeks ago. Anybody would. Anthony Wisdom says not enough with this squad, not enough ability and lacks leadership throughout. And I think, yeah, you've probably hit the nail on the head there. Nath Matthews says Sir Alex Ferguson would get us challenging. Cleverly, Welbeck, Phil Jones at CDM. He was the master. But Nath, I disagree with you on that one. I think everybody talks like we played cleverly every bloody week, and we didn't. And what people also forget is he had Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Wayne Rooney, Van Persie, Vidic, Ferdinand, Evra. I think, you know, and I don't know whether you genuinely believe that or whether you're being sarcastic, but that sort of sensationalist statement undermines how good Manchester United were, because yes, sometimes he played cleverly in the midfield. Yes, sometimes he played Fletcher and Phil Jones, John O'Shea, people like that. But look at the team he left. And all right, they were probably on the decline, but the team that won the Premier League the last time we won it had Vidic, Ferdinand, Evra, Van der Sar, Giggs was still playing, Scholes came back, Van Persie, Wayne Rooney. That's 8 leaders straight away. 8 leaders. And yeah, some of them was coming towards the end of their career, but they weren't finished. So yeah, maybe Cleverly did play, maybe Danny Welbeck did play, but you had 7 or 8 leaders and world-class talents. They might not be world-class anymore at that time, but they were still very, very good players. Antonio Kimber, thank you very much for the contribution. We had De Gea at that time. Yeah, Van der Sar had gone. But yeah, I mean, De Gea was a very, very good goalkeeper as well. And any truth, United making an £80 million for bid for Declan Rice, says Chris Riley. Well, Moyes has been talking about Declan Rice, hasn't he? Saying how he's, irreplaceable and what a player he is. It just sounds to me like they're teeing up. I don't know what David Moyes is talking about, because I've never seen Declan Rice have a game that's made me think he's a Man United player. And considering Manchester United are 6th, or 7th or 8th, or that's where we normally are, he's not even a top 4 player. He's not even a Manchester United player, Declan Rice. I don't see anything in Declan Rice that is better than Mark Noble ever was. And Mark Noble's never played for a top 6 club. So I don't get the hype with Declan Rice, to be honest with you. I'm not saying he can't improve. He can. Fergie wouldn't have have this team to start with. End of, says the big channel. Yeah. He wouldn't have ever let it get down this. Don Long says that Rice is well above United level. I have to disagree. Jordan Such. Mark, if Poch is demanding a certain amount of money for the summer, if he takes the job on, do you think the club will stick by Ollie even if he doesn't get Champions League just to have a 60 million net spend? Jordan, I can tell you for a fact that Manchester United Football Club would like nothing more than to keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in post, because he's cheap. He doesn't demand what other experienced managers demand, because he's still learning in the job, and he loves the club, and he just wants to be here. So he's a very attractive, and he is a barrier. He does, even now when we're having our worst season since 1989, we all still love Ollie. So he's still that barrier to. I saw a list of stats today on Twitter against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I basically quote retweeted it, and I said, look at that list. If he wasn't an ex-player of the club that we all love, he would have been sacked by Halloween. Like, it's been an absolutely terrible season. And that's not opinion, that is fact. Like, there is so many things. Like, you can look at the games we've lost, you can look at where we are in the league, you can look at the points tally, you can look at the shots on goal, you can look at the tactics, you can look at the injuries, you can look at the recruitment, you can look at the way we play football, anything, and it's not good enough. But he is imposed because we love him, and that affords him a lot of patience and time. And we can all try and pretend it doesn't, but even now I would love him to turn it around. So the club love that, and he's cheaper than getting another manager. And cheaper is the language of Woodward and the Glazers. They love that word. If they're struggling to sleep at night, they probably just they don't count sheep. They count the word cheaper jumping over hedges, and they're fast asleep then. They love that word, cheaper. Yeah, I'm happy and content. So, anybody who thinks that Manchester United are thinking, let's get Poch in no matter what, even if we get Champions League football, let's get Poch in because look, the future ain't looking that good under Ollie. Cheaper, they'll go with cheaper. Did you see the Facebook post from Manchester United yesterday that said Wan-Bissaka deserves more credit for his attacking? Sign off the new media manager, says Mr. Glenn Johnson. I think Manchester United in the media side of things, they're sort of dabbling in this world of... we've seen Arsenal's Twitter do it. I think they try to be edgy. Like Leverkusen are and English Roma are on Twitter. I think United are trying to be a little bit more edgy. It always will backfire, though, with United, certain sections of the United fans, because I don't think many United fans like that sort of stuff. And I don't think, as an official Manchester United account, you should be putting opinion like that out. Oh, such and such deserves way more credit. What's next? Matic deserves more credit for his creativity from CDM. Phil Jones deserves more credit for his timings of his tackles. It's always going to backfire against you. I don't think Wan-Bissaka going forward is as bad as people think. I just don't think he looks natural going forward. To me, he's one of the best right backs defensively in the world. He's brilliant. Going forward, he's not as bad as people think. He could have had, there was one game in particular, I think it was Burnley. If Mata and Martial had their finishing boots on, he would have had 2 assists, maybe even 3. So he's not terrible going forward, but I don't necessarily agree with the club trying to promote that, if I'm honest with you. Just picking up on that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I saw the quotes about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying about who was going to go on the tour, and McTominay's going on and Twansebe's going on. Very interesting statement from Ole, though. He said that Pogba and Rashford aren't ready to resume training yet. And I was like, what? How is Rashford being put into the same equation as Pogba, who is meant to be back very soon? What? How can are we going? What worries me is, are we going to see Rashford rush back again? Because if Rashford's back any time before April, that's way before any medical expert, when they were talking about the injury, and obviously a lot of people were talking about double stress fractures of the back, and they were saying with these injuries, and Van Persie said it as well, what you can't do is rush yourself back. You've got to give them the time to recover, because you do basically carry it with you for the rest of your career anyway. That's what Van Persie said. I don't know whether that will be the case, but you've got to rest it. You've got to recover. And he said it's one of those injuries where it's hard, it's frustrating, but you've got to do that. Marcus Rashford will play tomorrow. If his back's feeling better, he will play tomorrow. I've got no problem with Rashford doing. I've got no problem with Rashford's eagerness to play football. He loves the club. He loves football. He wants to play. But Manchester United Football Club have got to manage that far better. Unless we don't know the full unless Marcus Rashford's injury is not what's been said, he shouldn't be playing until at least April. But I just found it a bit of a weird statement when Ollie said that Pogba and Rashford aren't ready to resume training yet. They're close. I mean, Rashford's only been out for about 3 weeks with an injury that's meant to keep him out for 3, 4, 5 months. So I want these players back because I think we're a much better team with Rashford in it, and we've seen that. But I don't want them back carrying injuries. I don't think it helps anybody, and long term it definitely doesn't. Do you think Lindelof deserves to be in our starting 11? Says Antonio Camba. I'm quite a big fan of Lindelof, to be honest with you. What I think we never got to see was that I think Twansebi was very close to being the starting centre-back with Harry Maguire, and he picked up this injury. And I haven't got a problem with that, because I think the combination, you're looking at combinations basically, and with Harry Maguire and Lindelof, if I'm looking at them as a centre-back pairing, do I think that they're a centre-back pairing that can get us top 4? No. I that's really harsh, but they lack pace. In the modern game, I think you've got to have pace. And you look at Van Dijk, and you look at people like Chelsea with Rudiger and Tomori, and I'm trying to think of other teams as well. But yeah, look, if you're a centre-back, you're good in the air, you're a good tackler, and you're quick. We haven't got that. Maguire's not particularly quick, and Lindelof's not particularly quick, but Twansebi is. And I think that Ollie was looking to do that. And I would agree with that. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a centre-back, moving there, and that's your pace, as LFC before, or the disaster. I don't think... Well, I think Wan-Bissaka is a right-back. I think Wan-Bissaka is a right-back. I would disagree with that. I mean, it's a good comment because it's got me thinking, is Aaron Wan-Bissaka a centre-back? No, I think he's a right-back because, you know, I think back to full-backs over the years and I can think about Ashley Cole, Gary Neville, Stuart Pearce, Kenny Sampson. I can go really far back, or I can come really recent and talk about people like Andy Robertson. And the thing about a full-back is, it doesn't matter if you go to ground because you're very close to the touchline. A lot of the time, your tackle will put it out for a throw in, you get up. If you're a centre-back, you can't really go to ground very often because going to the ground means you're on the floor and that loose ball can be picked up and then you've got to get up and get after it. So Wan-Bissaka, a lot of his tackles are last-ditch tackles, which is fine because people don't get past him. He's a full-back, how he tackles is what I'm trying to say. At centre-back, I don't think he'd be able to do a lot of the tackles that he does and get away with it. But as a fullback, they're very good tackles. What was the point of top four? We will only get embarrassed, says Abukar Ali. I mean, the point of Champions League football for Manchester United is being back in the tournament where a club of our status should be. You get more money for it. You can attract better players for it. I.e., some United fans really want Jadon Sancho. Well, is the money there to sign him? I don't know. Is Jadon Sancho going to come to us if we're in the Europa League? I don't think so. If we're in the Champions League, we've got a better chance. So I would love to be sat here in the summer talking about things knowing we're in the Champions League. I would absolutely love that because I don't think we've ever not been in the Champions League for 2 years in a row. I can't remember the last time that happened. Answers on a postcard. It's a good quiz question. Certainly never under Sir Alex. Were we not in the Champions League for 2 years in a row? And I actually can't think of... I bet it... I'm trying to think when it would be. I mean, you'd probably have to go back to like sort of 92, wouldn't you? Something like that. I can't think of a time where we weren't in the Champions League for 2 years in a row. It didn't happen with Van Gaal or Moyes or Mourinho, and it never happened under Sir Alex. So yeah, I mean, look, but that's another bad record, isn't it? I mean, you could have, this season could end with worst season since 1989 and first time we've not been in the Champions League for 2 years since the early 90s. So yeah, I want to be in the Champions League football. I mean, I hate not being in it. I really do hate not being in it, and I'll admit that. But also, as much as I take the piss out of the Europa League, I'll be devastated if we're not in that. Like, I want to be in the Champions League. If we're not in that, we've got to be in the Europa League. Imagine if we're not in either of them. That's a massive problem for United. You know, I know United fans who are like, oh, I don't care about the Europa League. I'd rather not be in it. To me, I want to see United playing games, so I want us to be in it. To Manchester United, Ed Woodward and everyone like that, the loss this is very important. It's a shame we're talking about it, you know, sort of halfway through the show, but if we're not in the Europa League, that is going to have a massive impact on our transfer budget next season, because think of the games we won't play, think of the revenue we won't get. I think sponsors will drop even further. So we do need European football next season, and I look at it and talk about top four blow. Where have you got to finish in the league to get Europa League football? Probably sixth is the lowest you can go. So, you know, that's in jeopardy as well. I really don't think we are finishing in any European places. Our next 5 fixtures are a nightmare waiting to happen. Sorry for being negative, but our game plan and tactics will get us nowhere, says Mojo. I think it will be, if you think this season's bad, if we don't end up in any European trophy, that will be a bloody disaster. He will definitely get the sack. You can't keep a manager that doesn't do that. The squad needs rebuilding with quality players of Ollie's choice, says Michael Jones. You're a brave man. And Messi spotted being shown around Carrington today. Will be all over the papers on Sunday, says Sajinda S. Yeah, I bet he was. And is there really something about that Jesse Lingard wants to leave Manchester United at the end of the season? I hope so. I'm not even being horrible about that, but I do hope Jesse Lingard wants to leave Manchester United because I think it's best for everybody that he does. He's had loads of chances and he's wasted them. And I think a move for him would be good. Ziyech on the right. We need a creative playmaker wide, says Orlando Anglin. I've said it so many times now. I'm really surprised that nobody's gone for Ziyech. I think he'd be a very good player in the Premier League. Grealish is linked with Barcelona and Real Madrid. He is better than Manchester United's squad, says Sherwin Samuel. I'll guarantee that Grealish will not go to Real Madrid or Barcelona. Amanda Delaney says, keep Ollie. You can see what he's trying to do. I can't wait to see what some of the answers to that are. Like, trying to take us down or something like that. Ollie is the Mourinho without the trophies, says Griefhampton. And good riddance to Lingard and Pogba, says Big Mo. And Budget Signs Limiters, what do you think about Bailly? I think Eric Bailly's been a bit of a weird one. I thought he was back fit. He was on the bench and then he wasn't on the bench again. So I don't know whether he's had another injury. I mean, the problem with Eric Bailly is I think he will always be injury prone. So what's the point? I don't actually see the point in keeping players that you can't rely on. However good they are, Eric Bailly has been very injury prone. I mean, talk about a bad signing. Eric Bailly's been injury prone in his time at United, and the season before we signed him at Villarreal, he was injured 3 times with 3 different injuries in that season, and yet we still bought him. So, I think Eric Bailly's a good player, but he is reckless how he puts his body about, and that's only going to get worse the older he gets. I mean, he's picked up all these injuries in his early 20s, hasn't he? Imagine what he's going to be like as he approaches 30. He's just going to get more and more. It's a shame. It's a shame. I think there was a player in Eric Bailly that was very good, but he's just so injury prone. Sorry for being devil's advocate, but if we don't have European football, revenues drop massively, sponsors don't renew, and with us being in debt, do you think the Glazers will be forced to sell? Well, it's a dangerous risk, Mojo, isn't it? Some people might say, well, actually, let's risk that and see if they sell, but I don't know. I don't know with the Glazers. I mean, let's say you've got a car on your drive and it's worth 40 grand. It's a good car. And you're thinking about selling it and you want 40 grand for it. But then, for whatever reason, it starts to depreciate in value and you want to sell it, but it's down to 20 grand. Are you going to sell it for half what it was worth a couple of years ago just to get rid of it? Or are you going to think, you know what, I'm not selling it for half what it was worth 2 years ago. I want to try and get it back up again. That's the issue with the Glazers is to, as the price drops, do they keep thinking, well, I want it for what it was? What about Edouard from Celtic, the striker, says Jacob Sands? He looks decent. He does look decent. I think we might need to look at that sort of a striker. Erling Haaland was going to be that sort of striker, so you can't not in the same playing style, but Erling Haaland was scoring goals for Salzburg in Austria via Norway. Dortmund, and we were looking at him. So you can't be snobby and say, well, we don't want a Celtic striker when we wanted a player that was doing it in Austria. So, he could be the answer. It'd be interesting what United do in the summer. I think most of it will come down to money, which we will need to generate. Thea Ute says, it's a crazy time when we are United fans have to watch other teams to get some enjoyment from football games. We're in a sad place and Ollie has no clue how to lift our spirits. I feel sorry for Bruno. What I'm hoping will happen is that with Bruno and Pogba playing, we'll start to get more wins, and as a minimum we'll get 5th or 6th, and then we'll still be in Europe next season. That's what I'm hoping for as a minimum. I'm really hoping for, and people might say you're drunk or you're mad or whatever, I'm hoping that those players will inspire us to get 4th or win a Europa League and we get in the Champions League. I'm not, under any circumstances, entertaining the fact that we could finish 7th or 8th and not be in Europe at all next year. It's a possibility, and if you're asking me for percentages, what's the chance that we end up with nothing and out of Europe? I'd say 30%. What's the chances we end up with Europa League football next season? I'd say 40%. What's the chance of us getting Champions League? Actually, I would say 50% on the previous. 20% Champions League. 20% chance we'll get Champions League football. 50% chance that we'll end up in a Europa League spot. And then 30% chance that we'll end up with nothing. That's what I think. And they're all on the table at the moment. Finest Gamer says this is Ollie's last season. It could be. It could be. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Fantastic Saturday night video. Sunday night live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I love the Sunday night live show, so join me for that. We'll be live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night as per. Please do smash a like on the video. All 300 tickets have gone for the Dublin meetup on April the 2nd. However, due to the... I mean, they went in... I only put the link in one video. And we've not even tweeted it or anything like that. It's only been on one YouTube video and all 300 tickets have gone. So, because of demand, we'll be releasing more tickets tomorrow night on the Sunday night show. So if you're not aware of it, Dublin meetup, April the 2nd, Dublin City Centre. It's a Thursday, April the 2nd. Meetup in a bar over there, United Stand, and we'll be releasing some more tickets tomorrow. So if you've missed out, make sure you're watching tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. But thanks for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Smash a like on the video. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.